Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now, my name's Rod Mackenzie, and today I want to talk about gas pipelines to China. Now, the ongoing trade tensions between the US and China are intensifying in response to Donald Trump's original 34% tariffs. Beijing introduced a symmetrical response, and it also ceased purchasing American liquefied natural gas. Now, in addition to the high tariffs, China has also begun to resell the LNG it's purchased back onto the global market. And this is occurring concurrently with the EU's decision to increase its purchases of American LNG. Hopefully, they think, in exchange for a reduction in the tariffs that Trump is imposing on them. Now, analysts believe that the current situation could present a favourable opportunity for Russia and China to actually accelerate their efforts on signing an agreement on the Power of Siberia 2 project. Now, it's been reported by the Chinese embassy that a high-level Chinese delegation is expected at SPIEF, which is the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, in 2025. So let's discuss the prospects of an agreement between the countries regarding the gas pipeline. Now, the introduction of reciprocal tariffs has led to a halt in Chinese purchases, as I said, of LNG. And according to data from Kepler, which is a energy and ship tracking company, no American shipments are currently en route to China. Now, during the initial phase of President Trump's trade war, that was back in 2017, 2018, China didn't buy any shipments from the United States for approximately 400 days, and that was until April 2020. Now, in addition, China's began to resell other American raw materials that it's buying, since additional tariffs made sales to China unprofitable. Now, according to analysts, maintaining stable strategic cooperation with Russia is one of the most important ways to mitigate the risks of a potential trade war between the US and China and the repercussions of it. The tensions between China and the US over tariff increases do seem to be escalating, and the US's use of heavy-handed and rude taxes has actually led to quite a sharp response from the Chinese. I mean, in addition, China is seeking to provide, a more favourable environment for foreign economic policy, as demonstrated by its recent conversations between Premier Li Qiang and EU President Ursula von der Leyen. Now, Yang Chen, who's a professor at the Shanghai Institutional Studies University, has highlighted the importance of strategic, stable cooperation with China, mitigating the potential trade war, and how it's important to the Chinese that they work very closely. He believes that resuming Chinese and Russian cooperation on the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline is actually a viable option in this context. In the long term, a partnership like this will provide increased stability for the sustainable economic development of both China and Russia, he said. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me develop the channel and fund it and my website, SCO BRICS Insight. And you can do this by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen and making a small donation. Everybody who does donate gets a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now just for watching. Do keep the comments coming. Love to read them, love to respond to them. And it doesn't really mean that we're working together. Now, the construction of the new pipeline gives rise to such complex issues such as route determination, pricing mechanisms for the gas, and the market demand, which really does require serious discussions between both sides, according to the Chinese. Now, according to Alexei Grivash, who's the Deputy Director of Gas Issues at the Russian National Energy Security Fund, he says this is an opportune moment for China to demonstrate its independence in energy policy and accelerate the implementation of the work on Power of Siberia 2. However, like me, he's uncertain of whether they're prepared to further escalate tensions over gas with the US at this time. In my opinion, I think they are. I mean, that said, the Chinese authorities have said that they won't be tolerant of any mounting pressure from the United States and rhetoric as a result of the protectionist policies of the American President Donald Trump, who they have accused of blackmail, economic blackmail. Now, this information was communicated by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, and they're normally quite understated. And they said, in the event of Washington maintaining this course of action, Beijing will be compelled to adopt a robust stance in defense of its interests. And that's quite a strong statement from the Chinese, who are normally very it's succinct. I mean, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce says it's not going to be pressured into changing its trade policies by the United States. And if it continues to pursue these protectionist policies, Russia will have no choice but to resist. Now, according to Vladyslav Michenko, the head of the policy analysis of technology and energy, stated that he believes that if Trump and Xi Jinping do not reach an agreement, China will return to the Russian option of supplies, and they've actually discussed them. I mean, due to the current geopolitical climate, it would be China's best interest to resume or at least accelerate the negotiations on the Power of Siberia 2. I mean, it does guarantee stable supplies. However, no official statements or inside information has been provided of yet, said the analyst. Meanwhile, it's worth recalling that the Chinese chairman Xi Jinping will be in Moscow not only to celebrate the Victory Day on May 9th, but it's also a fully fledged state visit. Now, I got in touch with Gazprom, who declined to comment on the negotiations on Power of Siberia with the Chinese side, and the Chinese-owned CNPC were much the same, and they didn't respond to my request for any comment at all. That said, I'm not quite surprised. Now, the matter of the attendance at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum is currently being addressed, and a high-ranking official will be present through the delegation leader has not yet been announced, but it's obviously going to be a major figure. I mean, it's well known that the Chinese attach a very high level of importance to this particular forum, so there'll be a solid delegation as usual from the Chinese side. I mean, this substantial delegation is also anticipated for the Victory Day in May the 9th. I mean, several high-level accompanying persons are expected, as Zhang Wei, the Chinese ambassador to Russia, stated. I mean, Qu Heng, who's a lecturer at the International Legal and Training Center of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Shanghai, basically he said that the agreement on this project will be reached at either one of two summits, which will be the China Central Asia Summit or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization events this year. He also added that negotiations on gas prices are going to require both sides to make compromises. I mean, currently the pipeline gas is supplied to China by the Power of Siberia 1 pipeline, and that project, which started in 2019, is a joint venture between Gazprom and the Chinese National Petroleum Corporation. The gas is sourced from the fields in eastern Siberia and Yakutia, and its export capacity is 38 billion cubic meters per year. In 2024, its deliveries total 31 billion cubic meters, and the pipeline is scheduled to reach its full capacity later this year of the 38 billion. Now, the Power of Siberia 2 project aims to connect the gas fields of Yamal and Western Siberia with China, going via Mongolia. Now, just last month, Mongolia agreed on the route through its territory, and it'll also get some gas. I mean, the gas pipeline's initial designated capacity is 50 billion cubic meters of gas. Plus, there's another 10 billion that will be supplied as part of the transit agreement to Mongolia. Now, the implementation of the pipeline faces a number of obstacles. The challenges are the absence of a definitive agreement between Gazprom and CNBC. The negotiations, which have been going on for some time, are being delayed due to the disagreements over the price of the gas. I mean, the Chinese want the best deal, and they're insisting on a price close to the Russian domestic tariffs, which are actually subsidized for the Russian people, while Gazprom's focusing on the higher rates it gets for its export supplies. And you can't blame it. I mean, why should they give the Chinese what they have to give to the Russians? Now, in the wake of the Trump administration's Treasury Department implementing 34% tariffs on all goods from April the 10th, And it's been, global analysts have described the Chinese response as significant escalation. But it's not really escalation, it's just meeting fire with fire. I mean, in response to Beijing's tariffs, the US president again has threatened even higher tariffs up to 105% on top of those already announced, unless Beijing backs down with its retaliatory measures on by April the 10th. And of course, I don't see China actually doing that, so that's actually going to continue. I mean, Trump's latest announcement would be in addition to the other tariffs that they've already imposed, and to be honest, I don't see them being changed. But I mean, who's actually going to pay double the price for an iPhone? I doubt it. So Americans are going to be hit. So the tariff of 100% is doubling the import price of goods from China to the US. And according to Reuters' Alex Su, who's an analyst at US, he says Chinese LNG imports are shifting their strategy away from trying to resell American LNG to Europe to just considering resale of all their contracted LNG en route or as it comes up, because they don't want to pay the tariffs in advance, so they will just sell it on in the spot market. I mean, according to Chinese customs data, the US is expected to accounted for 5% of China's LNG imports in 2024. Of course, meanwhile, Europe's decided to increase its purchase of American gas in exchange for Trump's tariff easing, according to the European Commission spokesman Anna Kesa-Ekterman. I mean, she also stated that half of the EU's LNG already originates from the US, but they remain open to continuing negotiations to increase the level of imports. Well, they're not going to be able to because there is not enough of it available. I mean, the US doesn't have it available, and the EU is looking to reduce its reliance on Russian energy. Good luck with that. It's not worked so far. I don't see it happening. It says the EU is seeking to reduce its reliance on Russian energy resources. Yeah, you've been saying that for 4 years. And the US is an important partner in diversifying supplies, she said. Yeah, but that's only if they decide not to send it to Asia and dump you if they get higher prices. Now, according to Alexander Frolov, who's a director of the International Energy Institute, given the EU's limited supply, it's got no alternative to Russian supplies to meet the current demand. I mean, the total demand included the need to pump up to 70 billion cubic meters into international underground storage facilities only exacerbates the dependence on Russian gas. I mean, the redistribution of flows from the Chinese market to Europe will have an extremely limited effect. We're talking 6 to 8 billion cubic meters, which is not a lot in the scheme of things. It's about 10%. I mean, the gas that's produced in the US will send some of it to the EU, but its challenges could be in the EU could be addressed by restarting the Yamal Europe pipeline and granting approval for the operation of the one remaining branch of Nord Stream 2. However, it is unlikely that EU authorities will agree to this course of action, mainly because they're stubborn and stupid. Meanwhile, albeit less prominent calls are being made in various parts of Europe. I mean, the leader of the Dailanki Left Party, Sarah Wagenknecht, or Wagenknecht, whatever you want to pronounce it, she said in response to tariffs being imposed by the US, she's called for a strategic restructuring in all of what Europe does on its energy. In the light of the tariffs, she said she wants for a strategic restructuring of Germany's whole economic relationship with the BRICS countries and start to work with them, becoming less dependent on the US and more working with Russia and the BRICS countries for both digital and energy resources, and Russia becoming a viable source of not only pipeline gas but fertilizers, etc. So you'll see. I don't think that anything's really going to change, but thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Set the alert button so you get informed when I post a new video. Click on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen if you want to make a donation, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.